Welcome, everyone, to this session on the power of vocalization in birth and the power of a mother's voice. I am here today with Amedee Royer, who is a dear friend of mine since I was 10. And because I actually have not memorized all of her credentials, I will allow her to go ahead and introduce them to you.
Hello, everyone. It's so good to be with you. Yep, Steffi and I have been dear friends since we were young. My credentials are I have both my degrees in vocal performance, specifically in opera. Currently, I am a conductor for three separate choirs, and I also run my own vocal studio.
Thank you. And tell us a little bit more about your degrees because I actually am not as familiar with those.
Okay, so I have a bachelor's in music and a master's in music. So just learning all aspects of our classical Western music system, and then gave me the ability to sing opera for about a decade. And then I moved more into like choral and oratorio singing, and at the same time was working on my conducting. So now, as I started my family, I have four beautiful children and a wonderful husband. And so as I kind of transitioned out of performing and doing the audition circuit, I started moving more into teaching. And my cause and my goal right now is definitely young children, so young voices, and supporting them and giving them a vocal language and also deep roots in their community and with each other. So that's kind of my cause now, is just giving children something else to hope and love and dream in this present world. So, and that's music for me.
Oh, that's stunning. Thank you for sharing that with us. So, I have started taking vocal lessons with you over the past couple of years and have really enjoyed the fact that I do that for myself now. Can you
Mm.
tell us a little bit about vocalization as a means of releasing trauma and the vulnerability of vocalization? We're going to talk about it generically and then go into birth and how doulas can help encourage moms to vocalize in a way that will support their birth. You have just interacted with me in such a way that's helped me overcome that sense of vulnerability and open my voice. So can you speak a little bit to the physical vulnerability of vocalization?
Absolutely. So, as a singer, your whole body is your instrument. And as you breathe, as you open up, so we store trauma within the fascia. This is something I learned from Stephanie, and one of my dearest teachers in college. But you store your trauma within the fascia, within the muscles. So as you start to deep breathe, as you start to open up, and then also resonate and vocalize, and your whole body begins to resonate with sound, it not only is releasing the pain and the stored trauma, but the cool thing, it's a dual action. It's releasing trauma and healing at the same time. So that's why singing is not just, it's not just about making music. It's not just about entertaining. For me, singing is musical therapy. So you are releasing trauma. And I've had students come into a lesson, start deep breathing, and all of a sudden they're like, my voice is getting, like, even a sweet girl in my choir today came to me. She was like, I can't breathe today. My voice is shaky. And I said, is something going on? She was like, my dog died this week and I watched that dog die. And I was like, sweetie, you're experiencing grief. Like, breathe. Like, let's cry. Let's talk about why this was sad. And I was like, that's why it was hard for you to sing today, because you know how we stop the crying right here in our throat. As we open up and start to vocalize, we start crying. We actually allow ourselves that moment. And so I encouraged her to cry, and I encourage all of my students, like, if we need to take a moment and just talk through the feeling and the thoughts that you're having, like, let's do that. Then we'll sing some more, and then we'll work through this together. So that's why.
That's beautiful. Well, you spoke a little bit to the openness that happens when you
Mm.
sing. Your throat is open, your chest is open, your shoulders are back, and the postural um, emphasis of that is really powerful. And then also, when choirs sing together, their heart rate begins to synchronize. So, can you speak a little bit more to the communal aspect of singing?
Yes. So communal singing is absolutely just divine. It is connected to the divine. Because as you start, because the cool thing about music, it's patterned. So you start taking deep breaths together. So not only are you releasing your resonance and whatever emotions you're storing, if you're singing in a group as a team, you start doing that unified. Not only are you making unified sound, but your whole body start resonating together, and your heart rate does actually start syncing up because of the breathing, right? You're syncing up together. So it's just this beautiful, wonderful view of how we should be in humanity, like harmoniously making a joyful noise with one another and syncing up. So that is pretty powerful.
I love that. Can you speak to how people have used vocalization in good times and with sorrow or with like sad hymns and how that can be applied in the birth space?
Yes. So throughout time, humans have used, so this is a traveling instrument. You don't have to tune it. We don't have to find it and make it. It was gifted to us. This is your beautiful fingerprint that is made inside of your mother's womb, that you come out with just like this is specific to you. This sound, that's why it's so powerful, is specific to you and your individual self. And so now I lost my train of thought. Okay, so go back to
How
the
we
original question.
mourn. Yeah, we mourn with
Oh, that's right.
vocalization
So
and rejoice.
got it. Yes. This instrument's been with us from the very beginning of creation, and we use it in joy and in sorrow. So in my religious belief, we only vocalize in 4-part harmony. And so for us, everything is tied to the human voice. So every single memorial service that we're praying and thinking of those who have died, we are using our voice and releasing and singing together to remember that. Same thing with joyful celebrations, just like for us, it's Christmas or it is Pascha. We are opening up, we are singing, and we are celebrating together with the instrument individually given to us, but in community with one another. And I think, can we transition into how this can be used in birth?
Yeah,
Yes. Are
yeah,
you okay?
yeah.
So, because you're gifted this is number one. So you have multiple natural pain diminishers that you can latch onto in labor. So I just to give a brief history, I've had 4 unmedicated births, 2 in a birthing center, 1 in a hospital, and my final one was in my home, which was absolutely gloriously beautiful. And through that experience, and like I wanted to I'm a type A, so like each time I wanted to get better at it and like figure it out. So I think for me, my final birth was just realizing there's so many natural pain diminishers, and you have to find what works for you. And for me, one of those is low open vocalization. So even my doula would say this, and my midwife, you don't want high screeching feeling like when you're screaming, because if you can even sense that, it tightens everything up. So as you vocalize, the best thing to do, low humming like a cow. Mm, ah. Because if we have open jaw, open throat, that means you have open pelvis. And that's the goal, right? The goal is to open up completely and allow that new life into the world. So the lower the sounds, the more open, I think that's why we have in yoga the om. Like it is the eternal sound of birth. So use deep, low diaphragmatic breath. So can I transition into that a little bit?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So to get the type of sound and openness for labor that you're looking for, allow your abdominal muscles to be relaxed on inhalation. And I'm going to say that again. It is so important because most of us spend our whole life, adult life. You do this as a child naturally, but then it goes away for some reason as an adult.
Mm.
Where you start breathing in your chest, only up here. And your lungs are amazing. They go from the top of your shoulders all the way to your waist, which are your floating ribs. It's a 3-dimensional, gorgeous instrument that we only are breathing like a third in right here
Wow.
all the time. For labor, relax your abdominal muscles so your diaphragm can do what it does, which is it's a singular muscle that contracts down, creating space for your lungs to actually breathe. So to make that happen, it's allow that happen. Have your abs be relaxed, open throat, open body. You're just one big vessel. So I think that with labor is going to make a big difference for some. It's you pick and choose your tools, but for me, that was really important.
No, that's stunning. And with the diaphragm, that's the only part of the parasympathetic nervous system that you actually have conscious control over, correct?
Oh, fun. You're going to know more about that scientifically. For me, I do know it's a part of that system, but I didn't know that it was the only one you have conscious control over.
Well, yeah, we have an ability with the diaphragm to kind of work with that on command, which is
Mhm.
not true of other parts of our nervous system. And so I think a lot of people underappreciate how powerful breathing and vocalization in combination can be to calm the nervous system. But we know that singing reduces cortisol levels. It immediately offloads excess carbon dioxide, which is very healthy for the system. It promotes the release of nitric oxide and improves blood flow and lowers blood pressure. And I was reading that it is more because I have a hard time napping, or if you're
Mhm.
working with a mom who is having a level of contractions that she can't sleep, humming is actually more relaxing to the body. 20 minutes of humming is more rejuvenating than 20 minutes of sleeping because of how it lowers your heart rate and blood pressure. It reduces all of your stress hormones. It increases your vagal tone. And so this is a really powerful tool for sighing and for humming. And like you talked about, relaxing all of those muscles. Humming and sighing is something that you can pair up with the mom if you're providing doula services and kind of
Absolutely.
model for her. So it has been interesting for me to work with you as a vocal coach because of the incredible vulnerability, like you're talking about. Our voice is our signature sound, it is what we're known by. And you have helped model for me how to do things in a way that I note my nervousness or my embarrassment, but then you kind of get me to be brave and to make this sound. And I'm laughing because I'm thinking of a few specific memories and things that you said. But
Yes.
tell us, for doulas or midwives or people who are in the birth space, how can we honor a mother's instinctive sounds versus modeling for her? If she is starting to go with that really tense high
Mhm.
pitch, how can we bring that back down? What's your advice for how to honor and encourage maternal vocalization in childbirth?
Okay. So I'm going to go to just kind of my own experience of having a doula in my own labor, just because I feel like that's so low hanging fruit. Mine were just really simple mantras in the midst of contractions. My husband is also an incredible birth coach. He was so lovely to be in my space and to help during that time. And his big thing was like, he'd be like, "Hey, baby, you're getting high in your voice." He's like, "Can we get low?" And he would model it. And so would the doula. They would, along with me, like if I'm like, they're like, "No, low, and then they would breathe. They're breathing with me, and they're modeling the same resonance. So isn't that cool? I wouldn't even think about it because in the middle of labor, you're not really thinking scientifically. But how cool is it that they are coming in sync with me in that moment, in support, and that their voices and their hearts and their breath are coming to step in as this like spiritual and emotional support. So I think modeling mantras like low into the ground, like the one that made like stuck with me with Athens was like open mouth, open pelvis, open mouth. Oh, she just kept saying it over again. And I've used that too. Like if I've been in a birth with a mommy, like with my sister-in-law, I just said it. She's like, "That made so much sense." And I'm like, it does. And it's helpful. So short mantras and also, yeah, exactly what you said, doing what the mommy is doing and just help reminding her that low into the earth, low, low. That will help.
That modeling is really good. What are the types of best sounds for birth?
O and ah vowels, open, open. So no bright yeah. You know what they sound like, doulas. You know that sound, that screechy pain sound. You want her to have an open, like a low hum, like a motorcycle, like a low hum, like a cow. You want that rumble. And one way to test, like for yourself, as you're trying to figure out how to model chest voice, you're going to feel the resonance in your chest. You place your hand on your chest, make that that tastes so good sound, and it will be here. Everything else too high, it's going to not resonate. It's going to be a part of like a screaming head voice. So that's one way that you can start demonstrating and start experimenting with your own low sounds to help encourage your mamas of how to do that. But yes, oh, ah, humming, um, yeah, low, low, low.
Feeling that buzz when you sing in the low tones and connecting it to the heart.
Mm.
Seen other vocal coaches talk about how we're so in our head, and they were demonstrating like a lack of resonance, head voice versus a
Ooh.
deeply heart resonant low voice of presence. And I
Mm.
think that bringing that sound here is just extremely powerful. So anything else to kind of, we've talked about modeling, what types of sounds are best, where they should feel it. Any other thoughts on encouraging maternal vocalization in birth?
Yes, because it's not just about birth, my mamas. It is about giving your child one of the greatest gifts you could ever give them, and it is your singing voice, your special singing voice. Because if you start singing to your baby in utero, start right away. You're pregnant, you find out you're pregnant, you start singing all day long. Because you just heard what Stephanie said. If you're humming, it's lowering your cortisol levels. If you're humming, you're in the most healthy, rested state. So, girlfriend, just sing in the shower, sing in the car, sing wherever you are, just start singing. And the cool thing is, your baby is going to know your voice. And from the development of them being able to hear in utero, they're already working on their language skills. They're already working on their understanding of patterns, which is the building blocks for mathematics, for science. And then when they're out of utero, my encouragement to you is to sing to them every day. So with my babies, and of course I'm a crazy mama who has them in all the choirs with me, but every night my ritual is we have 4 special songs that I sing to them before they go to sleep. And these songs, they weren't there right away, like with my first, these have developed in time. But like, pick your songs, find your songs, sing to your babies because you are giving them a foundational language that's going to just spiral into other aspects of their life. So I think that's going to be incredibly important. And if you need help making those sounds, I would encourage you to find someone who will help you so you have the confidence to give this free gift, absolutely free, to your baby
Hmm.
that is going to help support them for the rest of their days.
That's so beautiful. Here are just some facts around this. Children's brains show unique activation in response to the mother's voice. Wider ranges of brain areas are engaged when a child hears their mother's voice, which go beyond just the auditory regions. Um, Reward activation happens for them, reward processing, areas that command social function, face recognition. Um, so there's just so much different extensive brain activation that a child has from their mother's voice. A child can recognize their mother's voice in less than 1 second. Tell us about what you did uniquely for Athens' birth. Tell us
Yeah.
that story.
So Athens was a really special birth. Athanasius is my 4th baby, and it was in the home. So this time I told Stephanie I finally got the gumption to do something I'd never done before, which is, well, and actually he was my first baby. I knew the sex in the name. All the others were surprise. So I knew it was Athens, and that really helped because in the midst of like transition, deepest contractions down my legs, I started talking to him and just said, "Hey, come on, Athens, come on, baby. Like, we're doing it. Like, mama's here. Like, come on, come on." And that talking, number one, I don't actually, it was not fast. Like, I mean, it was fast. It was the fastest birth that I've had, like in that transition moment. So there was something about connecting to him, seeing the end goal, and knowing that I was talking to him that was like, we're a team. We're doing this together. It's not happening to us. We're getting through this together. So I would also encourage that. Talk to your baby.
That was such a powerful shift for you.
Mm,
And instead of a sense that these contractions are happening to me, this is
right.
something Athens and I are doing together.
Yep. Yes. And that this is me. Like,
This
I
is
think for me, one of the biggest hurdles that I got through with the 4th labor was realizing that contractions aren't torture from the outside. Contractions are you. They are your body and they are a part of who you are. And I think that that was just such a release for me. I'm like, this is not scary. This is me. Yeah.
That's really powerful. I think even for doulas or midwives working with clients beforehand, questions like, are you
Mm.
talking to your baby? Do you have a name that
Mhm.
you're calling your baby? To get them thinking in this direction. I think with my experiences in birth that I would kind of lend towards recommending modeling for
Mm.
people because you're like joyful just going for it, I think is what has sparked the most joy response. I'm thinking of you trying to get me to make a certain sound, and you're like you had drugs, and you like modeled it for me, kind of broke that awkwardness and different, making that like and showing me you explained where to make the sound, but then you also
Mm.
modeled it, and that just kind of broke the self-consciousness because you weren't embarrassed and were like really going for it. And I think that in birth, different cultures have different expectations
Right.
of the birthing person staying silent. And this is something that a lot of people will think, oh, well, my husband is my birth partner, but husbands can be have nervous system overwhelm if their wife is really crying out in pain. And
Yeah.
so I feel that a woman's experience as a doula or a birth witness or a medical, professional can model this in a way that is regulatory for the woman. I just really love this idea of modeling, that you would model and show on your own body where you should be hearing the sounds and modeling for her. And if her vocalization is high or strained, bring it, matching her, but then bringing her down or
Mm-hmm.
encouraging her to speak to her baby. All of these are powerful tools. As the mouth goes, so the inner pelvis goes. And can you talk to us a little bit about the rapid improvement of your voice? Because I have been shocked in my journey when you are talking about, your vocalization is a gift that your children will remember. Sing to them at night, sing to them in the car, sing to them as
Yep.
you're bathing them, as you're cooking. Um,
Yes.
despite me literally having a mothering group called A Mother Who Sings. And I did not sing very much. And where that phrase comes from a poem where it says the only two things that children really need is it was like basically the point was is that children don't need very much. They basically just need a mother that's happy.
Oh man,
Um
isn't that so true? That's
yeah.
so.
And so despite having a mother group called A Mother Who Sings, I did not sing very much because I like to think of myself as a kind of a strong, fierce person. And my vocality, in contrast, was really quite faltering and weak.
Mm.
And I didn't feel that my voice represented who I felt like I was on the inside. And so I've changed my physicality, my physical appearance quite a bit with losing quite a bit of weight to more reflect who I feel that I am as a person. And then
Right.
also the strength of my voice. I just couldn't get over why can't I hit these notes? And there were actually very few things that you taught me about correct breathing, where the sound should be. I was shocked
Mhm.
at how quickly my voice, I feel like it sounds more like me because I have
Yeah.
very few things that you taught. Can you speak to how to explore and release your authentic signature sound as a divine? Oh, and talk
Yeah.
to you about giving the breath back to God. Hit that as well.
Oh yeah, I will. So honestly, if you start working this, because it's a muscle, it's attached to an instrument that is your body. If you start working with certain techniques, it does not take long. I tell some of my students who get the concepts right away, it's about space and it's about breath and it's about resonance. And if you get those concepts, like you can come see me like not on the regular. Like you just go and be about your business. But I think it's just the reminder of those things. But if you start practicing, start singing every day, and you have someone who gives you like the basic foundational skills of vocalization, breath support, and then these are the shapes that you need to make it happen, you're golden. And it will not take long. And then you just keep practicing and you keep singing and you do what you're supposed to do by being that happy, sweet mama who loves their kiddos and is singing around them while you're making spaghetti. That's just kind of your jam. The second thing, the divine. So Stephanie asked me, what spiritual connections do I make with singing? And there are so many. There's like countless. But the one that's been so beautiful and consistent is the breath. So you, my sweet doula, my sweet mama, you are given breath. It is just around you. It surrounds you. And you don't create it or manifest it. God has given it to you. And so the best and most wonderful thing is you breathe in that breath, that divine breath, and then you utilize that, either breathing out, either speaking, I love you, or singing, I love you. It's a part of the giving back to the divine and to this beautiful communion that we have with being the created, beautiful thing. So I like to think of it as like God breathes in, I love you. And we breathe out or vocalize, I love you. And that's all a part of what it means to be a vocalizing, beautiful human creature. And now you are a beautiful vocalizing human creature creating another beautiful vocalizing human creature. So all tapped into this lovely divine breath.
That's stunning. And with breath, they say life is in the blood and our oxygen goes into our blood system. It's going through our hearts. I loved how you described the expansiveness of the lungs within the
Mm,
body. And then you had written in your notes that when we sing, we physically move into our trauma centers and
yes.
our vagus nerve or our vagal nerve. All of this fascia here around our heart, our diaphragm. So many people store so much. I know that I feel when I'm really stressed is I stop breathing normally. And
Yes.
this is a powerful mechanism, whether it's by yourself in front of the audience, with your children, whether you're singing folk songs. People have always historically sung songs that everyone knows at holidays, demarcations of the seasons to process grief and trauma. I'm thinking of, the old like slavery hymns that they would sing,
Oh,
like
yes.
old
Yes.
gospel spiritual songs.
Wade in the water. Yes. Yes.
Or let us praise God together on our knees.
Yes.
These were songs that were passed from generation to generation. I would highly encourage you, if anything that we have talked about today resonates for you, please incorporate a real pursuit of vocalization as a part of your pain relief mechanisms in childbirth, working with people who are giving birth, and please explore this for yourself. Explore your signature voice and how understanding. You told me you said higher frequencies require more space.
Yes.
So this
That's
is, I think, a principle that's true in life.
yes.
Being an empty vessel and with your vocality, there are so many beautiful, oftentimes in our voice lessons, I just have a paper to actually write down all of Amedee's spiritual insights. My mind is, I'm like losing my mind, like I'm on mushrooms, like higher frequencies need more
They
space. Or,
do.
like you're losing your mind over the color blue, and Amedee thinks that she's just describing a mechanism of the body. And I'm just thinking about the spiritual ramifications of what you're saying that are so simple, but
Mm,
so profound. So, any concluding thoughts? Thank you for sharing with us about your birth journeys, the way that you work in local communities to ground children and give them a sense of voice.
mm.
Any concluding thoughts on any of these topics?
Sing, sing today. Go sing. Make some noise. Make a joyful noise. And Godspeed and good luck, doulas. You are doing beautiful work. I love every single one of mine that was a part of my birth journey. And remember, you are doing the most beautiful work. You are bringing forth life into our world. And I hope that this serves you.
Thank you so much for being with us here today, Amity. So appreciate you, and everyone else. We'll see you in the next session.